Hello and good morning and welcome back. Today we're going to be going over the free code camp's basic algorithm scripting, and we're going to be taking a look at the slasher flick challenge here. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to take a look at a few different things. We're going to start off with this slasher flick here. And what is it going to ask us to do? It's going to ask us to take a look at prototype slice so we can chop off n elements from the head. So what does that mean? It means that if I have this example here, it wants us to take 2 and sort of, well, just slice off the first 2 elements. Well, let's take a look at slice here. And what slice does, we've used it before. We could pass it up to 2 parameters here. And what we want to do is if we want to slice 1, 3, what that's going to give us is the beginning and the end. So we have a 0-based index here. And if I slice from 1, it's going to slice before that 1, essentially cutting off 1 element. And in this case, 3 was the end, which is optional. Went to 3 elements here and cut off right before it. So we've used it before. So I'm going to start off here, and I've already created this variable slash, which is an empty array. Don't need to make that much space. And what I want to do is I'm going to start off doing this 2 different ways, the long way and then the easy way after this. So I'm going to start off with this long way. And what I want to do is I'm going to push values into this array and see what I get. So here is push. Remember, push, I can push numbers into an empty array or into any array. So here's var numbers in an array, push 4, and you can see it pushes it onto the end of the array. Sounds pretty basic. So let's take a look at this and see if I can't do this with slice and some push and see what we get. So what do we get if I take my slash here, slash push, and what do I want to push into this array? Well, I want to push the sliced values. So push, I can push whatever I want in there. In this case, I'm going to take my ARR, which is all of this stuff here, and I want to ARR dot slice, and I only really need to pass this 1 argument, and that's just going to be how many things I want to cut off. And what is that? That's my how many. How many. All right. And let's just see here what happens when I return. Oh, I forgot to end my sentence. What happens now when I return my slash? All right, I get 3. All right, but now here I have an array in an array. It's stuck in a subarray. So how do I deal with that? Well, remember before we used a reduce method, okay, and we reduced an array by adding everything together. But I had also mentioned that we can use the this whole process here to do the same thing, but instead of add things together using reduce, I can use it to flatten an array. And you can even see here's an example of flattening an array. So I'm just going to be using reduce again to flatten an array. So what happens instead of returning this slash? I return slash, but I want to flatten it. So how do I go about doing this now? Well, let's take a look at this. Let's just return flash, and I can use the dot reduce. Remember, reduce is going to take in an anonymous function. All right, and in that function, remember we can use this A and B, and instead of adding them, I can just concatenate them, right? So I can concat. And so what would that look like? Well, if I did it this way, it'd be a function A comma B. All right, I take in 2 arguments here with this anonymous function, and this anonymous function is going to make sure I finish off everything here. I'm going to need a curly bracket, and I'm going to need an end parentheses here. Remember, this is going to have to match up here, here, there, and there. And I want to a dot concat not be. All right, and end that sentence and see what we get. All right, we did pretty good, but that's a pretty long solution there, isn't it? Let's remember that when we're writing code, every line that's done here, everything that we have to do, like create a variable, store the variable, then I want to push an array, then I have to flatten an array. That's a lot of things going on here. And there's a much simpler way we can do this. So what I want to do is I want to show you a much simpler way. So we can see here, I created an array, then I used my push, then I used my slice. So I pushed everything into here, and then I went back, and then I returned and reduced the anonymous function with concatenate. All right, so let's reset this and do this simpler. So here we can return this array here. Now, instead of generating variables and arrays and then flattening them, we can just use our slice. And our slice, you can see we can take in just the beginning argument. So since we can do this, all we really need to do is just take our array, and I can just slice by, like we did before, our how many. All right, and let's see what that does. Ooh, success. So it's nice and efficient. There we go, much more efficient. You could tell from my previous solution to this solution, I'm down to one line of code. Awesome. That's what we want to do, is code nice and efficiently here. So you can see now there's many ways to get anything done in coding, but what we want to focus in on is doing it as efficiently as possible, which is the reason for showing you these two different ways. So hopefully this was helpful, and I hope you got something out of this. All right, I'll see you next time.